Makes sense, Allison. And please do spread the word. This is, if you're going to get Kirk's pay-per-view for this Saturday night, my old friend, classmate,
Yeah.
from Winchester High, that's $10 for one show, compared to $10 for 20 shows for our thing.
So true.
You know?
Well, most of our shows, though, you can watch afterwards.
Well, right,
Just not live.
But the live event, that's a pay-per-view thing is to watch it live. Really. That's the whole thing, right?
You can talk to Tommy in New Hampshire and Morgan in the chat. And Trish and all our friends.
Right. Yeah, there's all sorts of good stuff. Oh, by the way, I've...
Yesterday there was a lot of commentary about my sweater with the llamas on it.
Yeah. You know where I am on... Well, I don't... You know what? It's fine.
Okay.
I'm just, obviously. There's only... What are my preferences regarding your upper attire?
Lower cut? Better? Generally?
I guess that's one way to put it, Alice. That's pretty much it. I think that's pretty much it. Because it's entertainment for me right here. You know?
Lucky you.
You know? And so while I'm zoning out while you're going into deep analysis of economics and things like that, I have something to do.
So true.
You know? All right. So here's my here's the thing. Are you ready for the thing?
I'm ready for the thing. I have topics if you want.
No, I know. I'm just.
I don't know if you're.
I want to go through. Okay, I'm going to take off a couple of things.
Okay.
One, this. I don't know what we're doing with the Pearl Davis stuff, and there seems to be like this thing where, first of all, are we flogging like white women? Is that what we're doing now? But this thing where like there's this all around judgment thing on like these women, and I guess it's white women. I guess. But like, I don't know why we're.
I'm sorry, I just find her so annoying. I've like muted
I don't mind
her.
her. I think she's kind of cute, actually.
I've muted her because I don't want to see her stuff, and I still see like screenshots of her stuff get tweeted into my feed constantly, which I guess is the point, right? Is she's putting these takes out there for attention. The latest one is that, what's his name? The James Bond guy.
Dennis Daniel.
No, the GoldenEye one.
Brosnan. Oh, right,
yeah,
right.
Pierce Brosnan.
Yep.
She's saying that, some other people started tweeting about it, how sad it is that he's trapped with this woman who's fat now.
Right.
His wife. Stay free, stay single. And she tweeted, "Does this count for men as a successful marriage? Would this be a W for men everywhere?" Which, like, obviously it is a successful marriage. She's had 5 of his kids, and they're still together, and they love each other, or they wouldn't be, obviously.
Well, the things that... No,
I mean,
I
don't understand why she's mad about him.
Here's the thing about that.
Okay.
Is that when I was 22 years old, and me and a group of dudes would hang together, we would absolutely agree. Like, this is screw, because he's not married to a hot chick. She's still attractive.
Yeah, she's just not super skinny. Like,
but here's the thing that's astounding is like all these people, including Pearl, and all these people I saw commenting on that. Many of these people are like college graduates and into life a little bit in their 20s and 30s, and they're still this superficial. Like,
well,
still,
yeah,
and I understand that don't know. It is a plus to have a spouse that looks good.
Sure,
and it's a nice piece of respect to look good for your spouse. But
she
like,
doesn't,
how
like,
old
look
are we
terrible.
here? Like, are we sophomores in high school? The whole thing, the whole locomotive called life runs you over, and niceties like everybody looking good go by the wayside.
But she's also not like about to be on my 600-pound life.
I understand, but this idea that like unless you're like can still fit into your prom dress, that should be the number one thing that's important. Like, how shallow are you people? Really, who gives a flying F? She's probably in her 50s, I assume, or 60s at this point.
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah, she's doing adult stuff. Okay? I understand that, like, people look at Pierce Brosnan on the red carpet and say, well, that's the most important thing in the world. No, he doesn't care to be in the red carpet. It's a part of his job he probably freaking hates. That's full of superficial, shallow morons taking stupid pictures full of empty-skulled flacks, shuttling you around to have more pictures taken and fake laughs, etc. It's the most plastic piece of crap thing in the world. That part of their life, when they're on that red carpet together, is the most useless, throwaway, disposable part of their lives.
But
Absolutely.
for somebody to point at that and be like, see, this is why marriage sucks for men, like, to me, is like such a non-argument.
Well, no, but you've
Seems
had
like a perfectly good marriage.
But people, they think this thing when they're, and I understand it too, because I have been superficial as well. In a lot of ways, still am. But like, when we were first getting together, remember, we'd be out more, so more men would like hit on you, and you could tell they'd say hi to me, but they're really saying hi to you, you know. And obviously, as a guy, I could tell every single time it was happening, and you can tell by the tone of people. Like, they assume that she's much harder than him, so I could probably take her from, if he managed to get her, I could probably. So, and I understand that that's how like guys work and things work, but it's so freaking naive to not look any layers beneath that. You know? Like, the point is that when I was 37 and you were 23 and you were smoking hot and I was really just a fat slob, is that if you're a guy and you wanted to advance on you, you don't go for beating me in the looks department, because everybody beats me in the looks department. Obviously, there's something else happening there that the guy should be
right,
you know, competing for. And it's the same thing with Pierce Brosnan and his wife. She has something that is, or a bunch of things that makes her crucial to him in his life, and that he loves, and that he likes. And so to be like these empty-headed ninnies on social media who just say, yeah, look, I bet you he regrets that.
I mean, he could get a divorce if he wanted one.
Right, and this is also a guy who, I've been watching Pierce Brosnan, and people my age who are watching right now have been watching him since Remington Steele. Alice, do you know what Remington Steele is?
No, Carl.
Right, it was it was like a private investigator show that he was on in about 1982. So he was always James Bond in Waiting. Everybody knew because he was that good looking in that English. But this is the guy who has been a global star for almost 50 years, exceptionally handsome, carries himself in a very debonair way.
Right.
I think he's done fine. You know?
No, he seems happy.
Yeah, I think he's done fine to the point where he probably, after a while, when you're a guy, and I don't know this because I've only had 110 in my life.
Oh, thanks, honey.
You know, I assume all the 10s start to blur into each other. And, you know, you get over it. You know, when the next, 5'11" supermodel walks over to you and says the same stuff the last one was, I assume you start looking for something. And it's just like people need somebody who's dynamic to them, who makes them feel interested and alive. Like John Lennon could have done better than Yoko. There's no doubt about that.
Looks-wise, yeah, for sure.
Right.
I used to be so mad when I was like, obviously I was never even alive when John Lennon was alive. So to say that I was in love with John Lennon,
well, at least you know what the great thing about that for you is, Alice, you are absolutely not a suspect.
That's so true. But so to say I was in love with John Lennon is a bit abstract. But when I was like in middle school and in love with John Lennon, I like was so mad that he was with Yoko Ono. I was like, why? I just could not see it at all. But like, obviously she did something for him in a way that like nobody else that got him or whatever.
That's precisely what it was. As a matter of fact, he was a guy who was smarter than almost every guy in the room. He's obviously world famous, talent, etc. But he couldn't figure her out. And he was in awe of her, what he thought is her brilliance. I don't ever see it whatsoever. But then again, she wasn't communicating with me like she was communicating with him. So, and I also I don't understand why we're beating up, like women are getting beaten up. I know that I guess I'm sort of beating them up too. And I'm not telling women, I mean, we're an example of you. Well, you dated down in a lot of different ways. You like the world of talk radio, so I was radio famous in Boston, in your cloistered little corner of radio. It's still really not a good.
I really didn't even know anybody else who was into talk radio,
Yeah.
so you were only famous to me.
I was the first one who picked who answered. But all I'm saying is that people assume like that there's something wildly like wrong or weird with these mismatches, and I always used to assume too. And I still do, I mean, obviously, but actually, to be honest with you, Els, I think I'm lucky because you're younger and hotter and you're lovely, but really the key to Alice is that you're a very intelligent person and a thoughtful person, and you're rigorous about analyzing and gaining knowledge, and like that person, like that's a really hot commodity. So, like, I appreciate the hotness, obviously, because I'm 16 and immature, and to have an actual like blonde woman around who lets me like be near her is like great. But it's the other stuff is like huge, and which is one of the things that like has other of my friends like the saying like they're always amazed because usually you're one or the other, So I also just don't know why we're also like browbeating women and telling if you want to be a woman who's in your 20s and just hooking up and not, it's like it's the Northeast or it's the elite blue city thing to do. And to be on birth control and go on dates, and it can be a lot of fun. I do find that pretty much once they hit their 30s, that most women are like, okay, but they're ready to pull the ripcord on this one and take the plunge.
Right.
And I think they also see that. I think that when people, especially women, see married women and married women with kids, they somehow see that all of these sensitivities that we've been talking about, the superficial stuff, they see that with that married mom now, that those things have been cast aside.
Right.
And they're probably wondering, how could Mrs. Brosnan not be prioritizing her figure anymore? Like, what is good? And I think that they're envious of it. To be like, wow, she still seems to be happy. Well, he still seems to be. And I think that there's this acrimony almost.
Right.
To these people who have moved on. It's almost in a sense, this is going to sound macabre. It's almost in a sense the way if you somebody who's your contemporary or something who dies, there's a part of you that's like, wow, where are they now? Like, I'm back here. They're in the new game board here. I can't even imagine that part of the journey. And I think there is a little bit of that to that, almost a little envy to when people have. I mean, obviously on the level, having kids spit up and filth everywhere and crying kids, that stuff is like, but to find, I think the mystery is like they unmarried people like look at this, or people that have kids look at that and say, why do they keep having kids? And like there's this unknown thing, I think that is probably a draw.
Right, and I think that's part of why Pearl in particular gets so much reaction to this, is because she's out here saying this stuff and she's like not married and has no prospect of being married seemingly, and just continues to attack people who are like not even that much older than her. I mean, she also tweeted today, yeah, you can't be that hot at 35. Don't shoot the messenger.
She's talking about herself?
No, she's like 27.
Okay.
So she's saying like, and she's said before similar things. Like she's said, you're hotter in your 20s than your 30s. Which, generally speaking, unless somebody's like lost a ton of weight, most people do look their best in their 20s and decline into their 30s. However, to say that people can't be hot at 35 is just not accurate. There's plenty of hot 35-year-olds.
Okay, I have a lot to say on this.
Okay.
Okay. One, obviously, if you're fresh out of the wrapper at 22 years old, then you're rolling off the factory floor with all new parts. Everything is brand new. So like
Yeah.
nothing.
Your
That
skin
said,
looks great. Your body looks great. Yeah.
there is something attractive about a woman who's lived a little. A laugh line here, there. It's like there is absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also there is a certain way a woman carries herself when she's um once it's right out of the wrapper, this certain naive bliss of youth
Mm-hmm.
that it's good. It goes with the new package, but there's also something very attractive about somebody who's got wisdom, and you carry yourself different with wisdom.
Like the girl at the gas station in the video yesterday that we talked about in the Patreon show yesterday, who was convinced everybody's trying to kidnap her.
Right.
It's like, I mean, yeah, there's definitely something there. But I know plenty of people who are at 35 are still wildly attractive.
Oh, hell yeah. And by the way, you know what? One thing I noticed about H. Pearl Davis is that the foundation of her appearance, she could look so much better.
She could look a lot better than she looks.
Because she's foundationally attractive.
Right.
And she's doing everything she can to plain Jane it, which is and I don't know where that comes from, but one of the reasons that we always liked going to Chicago was very mid women looked like $1 million. They just dolled themselves. I'm not saying like with work or anything like that. Just with attitude and just style wise.
Right.
And like Pearl is not doing that. And if she's got all the time in the world, no kids bothering her, no whatever, why wouldn't she? Unless she doesn't want to inhabit.
There's definitely some like weird psychological thing happening there where she's realized that she gets attention for saying things like this, and especially for saying it while looking like all plain Jane. I don't know. I heard somebody say like, somebody tweeted that she's like the unpickable pick-me, like because her takes are so designed to like appeal to bitter men.
Huh.
That like her version of posting is like thirst trap posting, but like for someone who's not hot. Like she's telling men what they want to hear. Like, yeah, marriage sucks for you. Women always screw you over. Women suck. They were only hot at 22. They suck now. They're all ugly and over the hill and don't have any eggs left. And like, you're right to hate all the 35-year-old women because they just, and all the married people, and they just, you know what I mean? That there's there's a very like pick me aspect to it.
Pick me?
Pick me. Like a girl who's a pick me it's like a not like the other girls thing. Like it's
is that like a guy's girl?
Yeah, but it's a broader generalization than that. It's like saying it's somebody who's a pick me or who's a not like the other girls girl is specifically trying to get guys to like her by seeming, different than other girls. Like, I'm cooler.
I see.
I'm more fun. Very much like a lot of people say that that Carrie Underwood song, the Dug My Key into the Side, is such a not like the other girls song, like saying like, oh, she's probably drinking some fruity little drink because she can't shoot whiskey and he's showing her how to shoot a con. But like, see, I'm so like cool and into I can shoot whiskey kind of, it's that kind of thing. Avril Lavigne is also very like not like the other girls, like not trying to look girly hot, but that Pearl is very like the type of posting that she does is very calibrated to get guys to think she's cool.
Okay, I've got the example of a pick-me kind of person from the 80s.
Okay.
This woman will always play pick-me girls from the 80s.
Okay.
Mary Stuart Masterson. Do you know her?
No.
Did you ever see the movie Some Kind of Wonderful? Eric Stoltz?
No.
Leah Thompson. Leah Thompson was the natural beauty. Eric Stoltz was Mary Stuart Masterson was the kind of tomboy. Played the drums.
Exactly.
kind of ugly duckling, but really beautiful. But,
Right.
Like
the super hot chick, but doesn't know she's hot. 'Cause
exactly.
she's just like chilling
yes.
with the guys.
For my age, it would be Winona Ryder as well. It was kind of like quirky and weird and stuff like that. I guess maybe you can. Who's the girl with the big eyes? Who is
Zooey Deschanel?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, there's something there like that. But yeah, it's a very specific type of attitude. But a lot of people say that she's like doing that, but like it's like doing that, but for somebody who isn't hot. That her version of doing that is like doing it specifically in a way that's, that's only for the content. Because she's very clearly not trying to look hot.
Right.
She could look way hotter if she put some effort into it.
Yeah, but I think that part must come from just something. She just doesn't. Supple used to be like that. She didn't. She shied away from looking her best and was always freshman year. Straight.
But I think it gets her more kind of attention too, because she posts stuff like this, like, oh, nobody can be hot at 35. And then, she's so plain Jane looking. She gets a bunch of people posting on it pictures of themselves in their 30s looking attractive. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I think it's like engagement farming, because it's specifically so irritating when you when you know that you look better than her at 35 to like have her say stuff like that. It's specifically like to get Twitter impressions and get reactions like that, so she can she must make a fortune on social media, I would think, because she really seems to do it. Tommy in New Hampshire says the not hot gives her license.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying, Tommy. Well said. Well said. He's with me on Mary Stuart Masterson, I guarantee you. Should we move on to apologies for Nazis?
Sure.
Justin Trudeau now is one of the first to... everybody in that parliament who welcomed the Ukrainian Nazi...
is now in trouble?
Is now, yes, in trouble and apologizing.
Obviously, it's extremely upsetting that this happened. The speaker has acknowledged his mistake.
His mistake?
Yeah, who made a mistake?
Wait a second. Joining the SS? Was that his mistake? The speaker has acknowledged his mistake. It's like there's huge stories about these guys executing Canadians in World War II. His unit, that guy.
Yeah.
It's like, couldn't happen to a better bunch of current politicians. And I love that he says that it happened. Really? It just happened. It just happened?
Yep.
A Nazi was standing in a room and people gathered around him and clapped for him. It just happened. Hi, buddy.
Obviously, it's extremely upsetting that this happened. The speaker has acknowledged his mistake and has apologized. But this is something that is deeply embarrassing to the Parliament of Canada and, by extension, to all Canadians. I think particularly of Jewish MPs and all members of the Jewish community across the country who are commemorating Yom Kippur today.
How great is this?
It's going to be really important that all of us...
No, all of us anything.
Yeah.
You gave the Sandy O for the Nazi, okay?
Right.
Back against Russian propaganda, Russian disinformation, and continue our steadfast and unequivocal support for Ukraine, as we did last week with announcing further measures to stand with Ukraine in Russia's illegal war against it.
Yeah. You notice he caught himself there on the Yom Kippur, too.
Yeah, celebrating.
Because you're not... Yom Kippur, it's one of the holiest days in Judaism, but you're really not supposed to be like, happy Yom Kippur, because it's all about like fasting and repentance, and it's sort of a serious holiday, not like it's like Good Friday. It's not, you're not like happy Good Friday when Jesus died. It's similar to that, where it's like it's a very holy day, obviously, but you wish people like an easy fast or something. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of inappropriate to say that Jewish people are celebrating Yom Kippur. So to compile that on top of the Nazi thing, and then but it really highlights, though, doesn't it, how the left has a real problem admitting when their favorite causes don't align together. You know what I mean? Like they have a real problem admitting when like their women's rights stuff conflicts with their trans stuff, or when their, you know, pro-Jewish stuff conflicts with their pro-Muslim stuff, or in this case with their pro-Ukraine stuff.
Yes.
Right? Like when all their causes don't perfectly line up, and to admit that there are competing priorities is really hard for them for some reason, which is, it makes life difficult because everything has competing priorities and you can't make everybody happy. And in particular, you cannot make the Ukrainian Nazis happy, like in this case, not even neo-Nazis, like original Nazis happy, and make the Jewish community happy. Like there's an actual conflict of interest here.
Well, but it also tells you like where the priorities must have been. We're so into this Ukraine capture.
Yeah, sorry, Jewish community.
That no matter what, he fought against the Russians. Should we maybe check, just hear me out,
Do a little bit of research into this?
on the off chance that he was a Nazi SS Waffen officer, just on the off chance.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and no wonder the guy, while they're clapping for him.
Zelensky's speech received at least a dozen standing ovations. There was also one for this man, a 98-year-old Ukrainian Canadian who fought for Ukrainian independence against the Russians during the Second World War.
How beautiful is that?
Yeah.
The guy was an actual uniform-wearing Nazi, and this group was responsible for a hell of a lot of actual, real, not wink-wink, not dangerous memes, not dangerous tropes. These are the real, pure,
videos.
uncut Nazis.
Yeah.
And by the way, the guy cried when they gave him the standing O, because he must have been like, wow. This is
I've
certainly
been hiding it all these years.
A nice turnabout. See Kyle. God, I wish he had.
So, yeah, I mean, it's an embarrassment, obviously. And we're just as bad in the United States with the Ukraine stuff. We're about to shut down our government and and furlough all the federal workers and not pay them. And yet we're still going to be paying Ukraine.
Yeah,
we're paying all their first responders and all those things. No, we didn't talk about this last night, but yeah,
it's amazing. 60 Minutes actually may have just blown a hole in the entire Ukraine effort.
I mean, it's pretty bad. The whole it looks bad.
American taxpayers are financing more than just weapons. We discovered the U.S. government's buying seeds and fertilizer for Ukrainian farmers and covering the salaries of Ukraine's first responders. All 57,000 of them. That includes the team that trains this rescue dog named Joy to comb through the wreckage of Russian strikes looking for survivors. And the US also funds the divers, who we saw clearing unexploded ammunition from the country's rivers to make them safe again for swimming and fishing. Russia's invasion shrank Ukraine's economy by about a third. We were surprised to find that to keep it afloat, the US government is subsidizing small businesses.
That is pretty devastating.
Mm-hmm.
And so
we're paying for everything for them.
Well, right. I remember in 2000, year of the Lord, the year I got the Lesbro, the Subaru.
Mm-hmm.
So 2008 or 9,
yeah.
I got in an accident with the Subaru.
Mm-hmm.
I was a mess, and I couldn't use my left hand, so I got in an accident because my hand was messed up because of the Greyhound. Doesn't matter. But so anyway, so the front fender was all broken, and so I went to the insurance adjuster. They had to drive down there to see the guy and whatever, and he said he's doing all the he's looking around at the car, and he said, yeah, we get you this one of these ones. And he said, yeah, we value this at about $1,000 of damage, and we're gonna fix it. And I said, I was hoping for much more. Mm-hmm. So I said, I said, but you're not gonna. I don't get like that part of the car doesn't get to be all new. And he said, no, we're not restoring it to its factory look. We're restoring it to how it looked before you got hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was disappointed, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But like we're restoring Ukraine to its factory look.
Right.
It's like you don't have to feel any hardship on the economy. You don't have to take care of any of your own first responders. Like we're training the dogs.
They're busy fighting Putin for us.
Right.
Obviously.
It's freaking amazing. So we're propping up
There's
their
no
infrastructure
Ukraine right now.
No, there's the United States.
Right. Somebody in the chat called Tommy, New Hampshire called it the 51st state in
Yes.
the chat. It is. We're completely. Except we don't even do this for any U.S. state.
No.
It's
Maui?
like, there's nothing like this in our own economy and in our own country. And it just compiles with the feeling people have that between the illegal immigrants in Ukraine, like the last people on Washington, D.C.'s list are you and me.
Well, right.
And, did you see Menendez isn't stepping down too? He announced
He's fantastic.
He says he's not going
I
anywhere.
am 100%.
He's not resigning.
I am
there.
I'm all about Menendez. I'm endorsing him. Like I told you, Alice, when we get money after my pitch to all these people to get us to donate, we are going to be donating to Menendez.
Okay.
I am all for it. What was he saying? I have the audio here somewhere. What was he saying? It was that. Oh yeah. Did he? Okay, here he is.
Egypt for human rights abuses, the repression of its citizenry, civil society, and more. Those who now are attempting to malign my actions as it relates to Egypt simply don't know the facts. Third, for 30 years, I have withdrawn thousands of dollars in cash from my personal savings account, which I have kept for emergencies and because of the history of my family facing confiscation in Cuba.
Uh-huh.
Now, this may seem old-fashioned, but these were monies drawn from my personal savings account based on the income that I have lawfully derived over those 30 years. I look forward to addressing.
That's the cover story.
There you go.
That's what you do. If they ask me about how I have all this money, I've been withdrawing it from my savings account. Good luck with that. I do endorse him. I'm a Menendez guy.
The stuff with Russel Brand and Rumble is still not over, by the way, because they've refused to take him down like YouTube did over essentially nothing. Like, I mean, I'm not saying it's nothing. I don't know what happened with these girls or whatever. I wasn't there. Who cares? But at some point, like, you have to go to the police if you have a problem with somebody that's criminal in that way. And, like, clearly nobody did. So, what right YouTube has to decide to carry out an extrajudicial proceeding to say that the guy can't make any income anymore is wild to me. But anyway, Rumble didn't take him down. And so now they could be taken offline in England. Like, you won't be able to access Rumble anymore in England, in the UK, because of their dangerous policies that allow Russel Brand, who it's not even about anything he's done on his platform, which is what's so crazy.
Right.
It's about somebody accused him of doing something 15 years ago.
John Hinckley Jr.'s on YouTube. He shot Ronald Reagan in the heart.
Right. I mean, what's his name's on Twitter posting videos all the time. I'm not sure if he's on YouTube, but what's his name? The football player, OJ.
Right.
He gets to post on social media.
He went through the litigation process, let the record show.
It's so true.
He's not guilty.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, there was an actual crime, but nobody's even like charged Russel Brand with anything. Like, I don't understand how it can be that the UK is gonna not allow their citizens to access Rumble because it's too dangerous to have somebody on there who somebody says did something 15 years ago.
Yes.
So
he has to be destroyed.
It doesn't make any sense. But the AP has now gone after Rumble too. Did you see this?
No.
The second Republican presidential debate will be broadcast Wednesday on Fox Business Network and Univision, but the exclusive online stream will take place on Rumble, an alternative video sharing platform that has been criticized for allowing and at times promoting far-right extremism, bigotry, election disinformation, and conspiracy theories. By bringing viewers to Rumble to watch the GOP debate, as it did with the first one last month, the Republican National Committee is driving potential voters to a site crawling with content that flouts the rules of more mainstream ones such as Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Earlier this year, RNC Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel said that using Rumble instead of YouTube as its live streaming partner was a decision aimed toward getting away from big tech. Asked about the criticism against the platform, the RNC said in an emailed statement that hate, bigotry, and violence is unfortunately prevalent on every social media platform, and the RNC condemns it entirely, but the RNC does not manage content or pages outside of our own. As it should be. Like, oh, I'm sorry, some people post, but you're now responsible for every video posted on every platform that you go on. Rumble prides itself on being immune to cancel culture. Its website says everyone benefits when we have access to more ideas, diverse opinions, and dialogues. That approach has catapulted the site to popularity in recent years as many conservatives have sought alternative social media companies. The company has been backed by conservative donors such as venture capitalist Peter Thiel and Republican Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio. Has 44 million active users per month, etc.
So somebody...
but this is clearly like a coordinated
of
thing.
Course.
Is Rumble stood up to people and said, we're not taking down Russel Brand. And there's an effort now to discredit the entire platform.
Yes.
So that's where we are. And then at the same time, we have this court case going on. Have you followed this at all? This is about the Biden administration contacting the big tech companies and telling them to take down content and stuff.
Yeah, didn't it just play out last week?
So it's in process essentially. So there's been some back and forth on it. It was in the Fifth Circuit, and this has been confusing for non-lawyers, including me. And some people were asking me about it, and I didn't fully understand because the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals had issued a decision, which is out of their group of judges who's on that circuit Court of Appeals. They have 3 of them issue an opinion, and they had kind of limited a little bit the earlier decision that prevented the Biden administration from contacting social media companies. And the Supreme Court was looking at this. They had just pushed their decision back until Wednesday of this week to try and decide whether to leave that in place or to block the Biden administration more from contacting social media companies to tell them to take stuff down. But the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals actually granted the plaintiffs, who include like the state of Missouri and Louisiana and stuff, a rehearing of it. So the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, the appellate court, wants another whack at it, which essentially, according to lawyers that I'm seeing talking about it on Twitter, is fairly unusual for the court to say, hang on, we want another turn at this decision, and indicates that probably they're going to go back to restricting the Biden administration even more, and maybe even making it so the Supreme Court doesn't even take it up if they make it more restrictive on the Biden administration. So
yeah, that's big stuff.
Seemingly kind of bad news for the Biden administration on that. We'll have to see how it plays out because, like I said, the Supreme Court gave themselves a deadline of Wednesday to make a decision on what to do about it. Whether to hear it, whether to leave the lower court decision, what to do. But apparently this was like a pretty big development today that is a little bit in the weeds, but sounds like it's bad for the Biden administration on that front.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, and I don't know did we even talk about a couple weeks back that memo that the Biden administration sent out to media, telling them how they were to talk about the Trump charges compared to Hunter's charges, etc. And CNN used some of it word for word.
So embarrassing.
Meanwhile, Joe Rogan, Alice, is going to get the
it's like everyone's treating him with kid.
Is going to get the Russel Brand treatment.
No one is going to run against Trump in the Republican side and win because you're not going to get the Trump supporters. They are all in on Trump unless he has a stroke, unless something happens that's horrible. They're all in on Trump. If you run against Trump, you're now the enemy of Trump. If I was friends with DeSantis, I'd be like, don't do it. You can't beat that guy. You just can't. When that guy gets out there and he's waving to people and they're going crazy, you're not beating that. There's and the fact that he was the president for 4 years and the country was in a great economic situation, and it looked like his policies were actually effective, and that it looked like the unemployment was down, all business was building, regulations were being relaxed, more things were getting done. When you look at it from a policy perspective, if you just look at it on paper, what he did was effective. A lot of people think it was effective. You don't like him as a personality, so you ignore that. Don't do that. Look at it in terms of a policy perspective. People liked the ideas that he was putting forward. And now you're saying like, oh, the wall is raised. Now the fucking everybody thinks there needs to be a wall. Even the mayor of New York City is now calling to stop immigration into his city. And this was the guy that called for it to be a sanctuary state. When the reality of what your policies, what kind of actions you put forth, what the results of that are, and those results are highly negative, you're forced to sort of recollect your thoughts and come up with a new perspective. And that's what the mayor of New York City is doing right now. When you just look at what Trump's policies were, and then obviously COVID hits, there's a lot to that, the lockdowns, the economic collapse, all the shit that came with that. None of that is good. And then Trump holds up this like hope to bring us back to where we were when he was in office. You're not going to beat that. I don't think they're going to beat that. I don't think when you look at the Russia collusion, when you look at the Steele dossier, when you look at all the bullshit they tried to throw at him that we now know is bullshit, not just bullshit, but coordinated bullshit. When you look at the fact that they suppressed the Hunter Biden laptop story and that 51 intelligence agency representatives signed off on that to say that this was Russian disinformation, which they know is not true. That's scary. Because now you have the intelligence agencies colluding to keep a guy from being president that was president during a time where the country was thriving economically. You're not going to beat that guy.
Would he get your vote?
He'd get my vote before, he'd get my vote before Biden. I said that before. I don't think that, I never thought that Biden was going to make it. I never thought that he was going to be functional. Like regardless of what kind of power the president actually has. And it appears under Trump, the president has a lot more power than we think they do.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I'm sorry, but Rogan gives people permission to vote for Trump.
Because he's a Bernie bro. He's
Right.
like a normal dude.
Right.
He's not like some fringy MAGA guy.
Right.
Despite what people try and spin him as. He's
Right.
not at all that.
And I was just listening tonight to the Eminem thing saying, I don't understand Trump people. He doesn't give a crap about you. Doesn't give a crap about you. We talked about this last night. Mm-hmm. They don't seem to understand. We're not, people who like Trump aren't saying that they're going to get invited to Mar-a-Lago and get to hang out with him and Melania.
I know.
They're just saying
I don't even want to do that.
They know that they're getting screwed and they think he knows that they're getting screwed. Just like Chappelle said with that skit saying, Trump came out of the mansion with all the elites and said, just so you know, all the
they
crap
are
that you
doing
thought.
all that
Yes.
stuff that you thought. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's what people just don't get it. They're so angry at him that they don't give it a second to notice.
Yeah. Well, and you and I have talked about this a bit because it's like the further we get along in the primary season, the more inevitable Trump feels, and it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. Like, is he going to win all these early primary states with like 80% of the vote? How long is it going to take people to drop out? And I understand people are saying, and I was saying this 6 months ago, but the race looked really different 6 months ago.
Right.
Like, you got to let some of the campaign play out here.
Right.
But like the more we're letting it play out, the further ahead that he gets. So the people who are still out here saying like, oh, just wait, like nobody's even voted yet, like Ron DeSantis is going to do, like he's not gonna.
It's the general election is on right now, especially in the fact that Trump has 137 charges means that the general election is on.
Nikki Haley's up to 13%.
The
Wow.
Bulwark and the Dispatch can talk Nikki Haley night and day and interview Asa Hutchinson all night and day. That's good.
But you and I were saying that, like, it's like when it was something with like Nikki Haley surging, somebody was talking about how great Nikki Haley would be or something, and you were like, I don't understand voters. Who's excited by Nikki Haley?
Right.
Like,
but so this is the Democrats tweeted out this thing. It's almost a flyer saying that says with graphics saying Biden Harris wins, and they've got a bunch of bullet points. And listen to this. The ones that aren't disingenuous are just way out of where, other than the squad, you'd want to hear. Here's bullet point number 1. Over 13 million jobs added. Don't effing treat us like we're stupid.
yeah,
okay?
we were here when you took office.
Right.
We were in the worst part of the lockdown depression that we were in.
Right. You close all the jobs. Here's the second one. Strongest economic recovery in G7. One, we don't care about the other countries in the G7.
Yeah, sorry. The other countries that you always tell us we should be more like were worse. Like, oh.
Yep. Number 3 is actually one that, depending on how it works out, could be a good one. Bringing semiconductor manufacturing back to the U.S. Of course, it's having a lot of pitfalls getting them to actually do that because the prices are through the roof.
Right.
But that's probably a wise piece of legislation that he signed. Canceled more than $117 billion in student loan debt. Are you effing kidding me?
Yeah,
Why don't
nobody
we
likes
just,
that.
The only thing that's better than is canceling student loan debt for Ukrainians at their colleges, which is coming. Now, this is my favorite one, Alice.
Okay.
Well, he says gun safety, historic climate action. What does that mean to anybody? Protecting fundamental right to marriage. Nobody knows what that means, too. Executive orders protecting reproductive rights. Fine, that might work for the base. For the Democrat base, that's right. He's a big abortion guy. Strengthen U.S. alliances and partnerships around the world. It's too bad it had to be strengthened. It's too bad it had to be strengthened so that we can all fight this proxy war against the Russians. Listen to this. Your family's hurting. You can't afford anything. Set demographic and professional diversity records for judicial appointments.
Oh, wow.
Wow. More identity hires. More quotas.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And meanwhile, his spokesperson is like the prime example of why you don't hire by diversity alone.
Right.
He's a moron. Now, here's the best part of this.
Mm-hmm.
Bipartisan infrastructure law.
Okay.
Now, there was a bipartisan infrastructure law.
Mm-hmm.
Republicans did vote for it.
Yep.
But it wasn't called that. There was no bipartisan infrastructure law. What was it called?
The Inflation Reduction Act.
Right. That's nowhere to be found on this brochure.
Because we failed to do any inflation reduction.
Correct.
And it was inflation causing.
That's correct. So it now just says bipartisan infrastructure law. Well, which one? No, none in particular.
Nothing.
It's fine. Go down here to historic climate action, please. Just keep going. It's amazing to me. All right, we'll get to the gamey person tomorrow, okay? Right?
Okay.
Does that work?
That is fine.
What is
with
the hot
me.
sauce, Allison?
The hot sauce is the Chelsea Fire Wicked Hot Sauce, a delicious and hot sauce that brings us the Chelsea Fire Wicked Hotline, where you can leave a chat message for the show.
2 messages, Alice.
Okay.
People are mad at you, I bet. That's why.
Probably.
Okay. BB.
Burn Barrel.
DB.
Danny and Billerica.
Future namesake.
Okay.
Hey guys.
Hey, do we know, Danny? Are you going to be in Saco or at home? Do we know?
I don't know if we know if he'll be in
I don't know.
Saco or at home.
It's Danny.
Hi, Danny.
It's been a while.
Yeah, Danny, we miss you.
Things have been a little nuts,
Oh, I understand.
but wanted to check in, say hello. A couple days behind, but first off, please, I appreciate the thought. No need to get me anything. You know, if you got some Burn Barrel onesies laying around, that'd be great. You know, maybe matching ones for me and Ollie. But, you know, the gift of your beautiful discourse every day is
Will Ollie's
that I
mom
need,
allow
so-
him to wear a Shathead onesie?
Oh, that's a great question. Alice, that's horrific. That's child abuse.
is all that I need. So
Well, thank you, Danny.
Although I did get a little nervous, Tom, when you brought up how bad you guys are at gifting, and same here.
Yeah.
That Alice did not take kindly to that.
No, yeah. At the end of the day, you still are a woman. So I freaking got to worry about getting snake bit. Danny.
It's like a little nervous that the meat forks may
Yes.
have reemerged, and I was potentially the cause of another marital rift. So I'm glad you guys got over that pretty quickly. Now, if you do want to name your child after me, I have no problem with that.
My childhood friend, Alice, Danny Smith, was my best friend growing up.
I'd be happy to give my blessing, and I'll come up for the Orthodox christening or whatever, which probably takes,
6-7 hours.
20, 30 hours.
Yeah, about that.
So, yeah, keep it in mind.
Do we have...
I'm good with that. My middle name's Jeremiah, by the way, so if you want to pop that in there.
Oh, very nice.
All right, take care, guys.
Thanks, Danny. Appreciate it. Good to hear from you again. Yeah, we have to get 2 baptized, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna.
We're
reach
still,
out.
Cyril was like kind of during COVID, so he missed it. He was mad too, because he's been waiting to be baptized. Because the Orthodox Church, you can take communion like as soon as you're baptized. They don't wait. But then once I was pregnant, I was like, whatever, like, we'll just do them both at once and, like, not make the godparents go through it twice.
Oh, that's
whatever.
right.
You know, so then I was like, we'll just do them together. But he was like, but that's not fair because then the baby will be baptized right away and I won't get to be baptized. And I wasn't baptized until I was...
We'll get him done to
Yeah.
Bogo. I forgot, Alice.
Mm-hmm.
I started telling this story 51 minutes ago.
What story?
That I ran into a friend of ours.
Yes. Oh,
downtown
yes, you did.
on Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
He was pulling out of his driveway, but there was cars coming, so he couldn't really. But I was stopped. I was going to cross the driveway behind him. So I was just standing there, and I wanted to let him go because if he had any time. So he kind of looked over and was almost about to pull out, but then he didn't pull out. But then he said, okay, you can go. And then I started walking, and then I heard him say something, and I thought that maybe I gave him like a weird... I didn't give him any... He did everything right. But I thought maybe I looked at him wrong or said something wrong, or sometimes I just have like the bad energy. I thought he was like saying, "Hey, mother," I don't. So then I took my headphones off a little bit, and he's a listener. It's a guy you've talked about before, who's married to Jennifer, who we've met.
Yes.
Who's great.
Yes.
And that's great. So that's great. And what is his name?
Tim.
Tim. Hey, nice to meet you. Kind of. I'm sorry about that. If I seemed awkward and rushed, I was in the middle of walking and was heading towards... I believe I'm a anomalous freak, Alice, as I walk. I need to find some back roads. But nice meeting you,
People always talk
Tim.
about how they see you walking.
I know.
Everybody, we were at softball the other day, and one of the dads was like, I always see you walking, Tom.
Yeah, they all assume I just get DUI'd. Okay, so we're going to have to hang out with Tim.
And Jennifer.
And other people in Merrimack that we won't name because they could be politically persecuted, and other people in
West Newbury.
Yes, as well. How come we can't name any people who like us?
Everybody has to live in hiding.
All right, Alice. Wellbutrin from Merrimack.
That's a psychiatric drug.
Is it really? Mm-hmm. Oh, are you on psych medication?
No.
Have you ever been?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. No, but I know people who are on that one.
Oh, okay.
I think it messes with your libido, among other bad side effects. So.
Oh, isn't it interesting that when I needed my psych medication for January, that like I had anxiety, but I got 3 things? Doesn't that just tell you? I was talking to a pharmaceutical person today about that. And just how the whole racket goes, and the way the incentive system works, etc. And it's remarkable. It's indeed a crisis, and one that one should follow money on. But we'll talk about it later.
Hi, Steve from Merrimack.
Hey, Steve.
Just wanted to respond to Dr. Cheselwitz's message about what would happen if the two of you split up.
Yes.
Who would win more audience?
Yes.
And I have to say that.
Be prepared to take a hit here, Alice.
I'm ready to take a hit.
You,
I wouldn't listen to me. I don't know why.
I'll thank you in advance, Steve. I will thank you in advance.
I think I would go with Tom.
Yes.
And the only reason is I think we've had a good enough end on what the Alice F. Buckley show would sound like. And I love you, Alice. You're terrific.
I know. I agree.
But,
I agree. I like listening to Tom, too. That's why I married him.
You're terrific, but not a lot of laughs. And in fact, I after listening to a couple of the solo shows that you've done, I had to go load up on the Wellbutrin. Thank you.
I know. Sorry. Not a lot of laughs. It's true.
He says sorry. Steve, well said, as usual. No, a perfect message. Well said. Very accurate. I've always said good things about Merrimack, Alice, and God bless Steve.
Thank you so much for listening, even though, I dragged down the show into a depressing place.
You're Princess Valium from Spaceballs.
And I appreciate all you guys, and I hope that I'm not keeping the psych medication industry in business, but, if you want to join us live to talk to me in the chat, you can do that at patreon.com/burnbarrel. If that's too depressing, you can just listen to the show for free at burnbarrelpodcast.com.
Self-pity, Alice.
It's not self-pity. There are jokes.
Oh, yeah, I see. There's a few elements that go into making jokes that we'll go over next time.
Okay.